not enlightened about. I'll give you another example, but you all are going to be so shocked. So I went to a high school that had a rival high school. We played football against them when homecoming. They were like our rival football. And they happened to be an all-boys school. Now, keep in mind, my high school was extremely liberal, right? Very enlightened about many things, but this is the early 80s. When Deerfield came to play us on our court, you know, in our field, we had a chant because it was a boys' school, and everyone participated in the chant, the students and the faculty. We went like this, and we went Deerfield, Queerfield, Deerfield. Hannah, you might know that school. Do you remember Deerfield?
Say that again?
Do you remember a high school in Massachusetts called Deerfield Academy?
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember? Okay. Yeah, can you believe that we had that chant? That homophobic chant, but things were so different, and I'm just so glad that so much has changed.
Me too.
Yeah.
I find it interesting how, like, in different decades, like the mindset or things that people did, how it changes over time.
It's amazing, and it almost changed so instantly. So the cigarette thing changed early, like maybe I was a senior in high school or something when people became enlightened, because at my high school, parents gave written permission for their kids to smoke cigarettes. So if you had written permission, you could smoke in certain areas. They had what's called butt room, BUTT. You could smoke in any butt room, or you could smoke different spots outside around the high school campus. It's just incredible. Like, who would even think to give their kids permission to smoke cigarettes now? No one would do that. But I remember one of my best friends, I had a circle of like maybe 5 close friends, and one of them was gay, but we didn't even have the language to attach to that. Like, we knew she was different, but we didn't know anything. And then, and we were very, very close. And then when I graduated, she wrote me a letter coming out. She wrote all her friends letters, because that's when you wrote letters and put them in the mailbox. And because it was now in the news, we all understood. I know that seems so weird to you guys. Kay, you're looking at me. I'm trying to read your face.
No, I just thinking about how, different it is now.
Completely different.
I sometimes wish that there's like a time travel machine where you can go back certain decades and live like a week and be like, oh my goodness, this is so different.
Just to experience it, I want to go back to the civil rights movement, and I want to go back to like when my parents were teenagers in the 50s. I want to see what that was like, because I've seen prom photos from my mother, from my aunts. Everything is covered up, and compared to now, where they show the midriff, it's just so interesting. Okay, let me stop chatting. Amanda's here. Kay is here. Manny is here. I don't see Aya. Usma's here. Hannah is here. Mandy is here. Erica's here. And Evelyn's here. Okay, good. So today, towards the end of class, we're going to have a little bit of fun. I can't remember. I know, Amanda, you took a class with me, but I don't think anyone else has. Amanda, did you take the Ave quiz in my class?
What was it again?
African American English.
I don't think so. I took
Okay, good.
based on the African American English with 330, I believe.
Oh yes, 330. Okay. So you didn't take that with me. Okay, so I am going to continue on the PowerPoint that we had. Are there any questions before I start about anything? Okay. So I had been talking about the participatory approach. Go back a little bit. Okay, I had been talking about the political dimensions of language and the different ways they could be addressed by teachers, including the participatory approach, which is where I ended. The participatory approach, again, is very unique because the syllabus or the plan or the curriculum grows out of student concerns about the world around them. So there's less of a power dynamic and it tends to be more empowering. Some of the techniques that are included are dialoguing. Again, this is mostly about students' problems, whether they're micro issues that involve.
Professor?
Yeah.
Amanda wrote in the chat reminding you not to forget to record.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Amanda.
No problem.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so let me start again. So I was talking last time about the political dimensions of language teaching and how teachers could address the politics of language. So I talked about literacies, plural, plurilingualism and multi-competence, the importance of non-native speakers as teachers, the hidden curriculum in textbooks, and the participatory approach, which really involves growing your curriculum based on the concerns and issues that students bring forth. So this is really what makes the participatory approach interesting and different, is that you're not taking from like a cookie cutter textbook. You might use a textbook to support what you're doing in the classroom, but really, as I said, the issues grow from the students and become the curriculum. It encourages writing and speaking because it's what the students want that the curriculum revolves around. And so the techniques in the participatory approach involve dialoguing, mostly about students' problems, whether they're micro personal issues or community issues, political issues, or societal issues, right? Could be anything from making enough money to pay the rent, right? Or it could be about some empty lots in the community that are attracting drug dealers. Or, going even more macro, it could be about immigration or any large issue that is on the student's mind. Okay, so dialoguing, which promotes speaking. The second piece is problem posing. The teacher poses a problem identified through the dialoguing with the students. Then the teacher guides and helps empower students to solve these problems. So it is actually not hypothetical. If there's some issue in the community, in the immediate community, one project might be to write letters to the editor, or to write letters to a politician, right? So the problem posing grows from the dialogue, and it's practical. So I have 2 links that show what the participatory approach is all about. I'm only going to show the shorter one because the longer one is 24 minutes, and it is a little harder to hear. I do like the longer one because it shows you quite a bit. But I'm going to show you this clip. I think is useful in understanding how it works. Make sure the volume is up.
English My Way features participatory lessons in each unit, which aim to get learners to reflect about their local environment, their local area, and issues that are important to them.
I have got some pictures of some places quite local to here. And what I want you to do is see if you can tell me what they are.
The sessions use drawings and images to help learners communicate more sophisticated ideas than they would otherwise be able to, given their language level. In participatory sessions, learners use their knowledge. In this example, learners are making a map showing local services. As this approach stresses the importance of getting learners to set the agenda, the teacher and any volunteers should act as facilitators, supporting learners to express their own views. It's important that you shouldn't try to put words into learners' mouths.
What about this place?
I don't like McDonald's. I like McDonald's because I love the fries and all the fries.
This particular activity, taken from the Accessing Local Services unit of the English My Way programme, asks learners not just to map local services, but also to rate them or draw pictures to highlight their experiences. This will help learners to talk about any problems they've had with services. You could address these in following sessions, or learners could help each other by sharing their own experiences. If you are interested in participatory approaches, search for Reflect TESL, who've carried out a lot of work in this area.
Okay. So imagine all the things that could grow from a lesson like this. They're mapping the community, then they're rating the services throughout the community. And lo and behold, they all realize that they all have the same issues with, at the library, books only being in English, or no librarian that speaks their language. Anything can happen, and then a project ensues. So it's very exciting. And you can watch the other link in your own time if you like. So here's a question. What is disempowering? We know what's empowering in the classroom if you do projects like the one I just showed. But this is a TED Talk where the speaker talks about something that's been done that is particularly disempowering. Let's see if I can get this up. Yes.
7 out of 10 deaths in the US are caused by chronic illnesses that are preventable, like heart disease, cancer.
Where I'm from, there is a proverb that says, "No yurt shall go unanswered." That being said, can I get a yurt? All right, now I can begin. So I came across this photo on Facebook in 2017, and it lists the language regulations set by a teacher. So I'm sorry, I'm going to turn it up and start it again. Where I'm from, there is a proverb that says, "No yurt shall go unanswered." That being said, can I get a yurt? All right, now I can begin. So I came across this photo on Facebook in 2017, and it lists the language regulations set by a teacher. So it says things like "on fleek," "chill," "girl bye," "boy bye." So these words are banned in the classroom. And the teacher says that when you walk into the classroom, you will speak properly. And so some people may look at this and not think anything of it, while others may look at it and notice a number of issues. Right? The first being that the teacher says these words are banned, but goes on to list phrases as well. But perhaps more importantly is that the teacher raises a question of what it means to speak properly. Next, many of these words and phrases have their origins in Black English. And third, a teacher sees it fit to punish students for their language in a place where they should feel safe and loved. Now, consciously or unconsciously, this teacher has attributed value to these items with no regard to their social cultural importance and legitimacy. And this is quite common. Many language variations of people who are marginalized are viewed negatively. So a language variation refers to the regional, social, or contextual differences in the way a language is used. So this means that for a particular language, if you're from a certain region, if you're a part of a certain social class or ethnic group, or you want to seem like you're a part of a certain, economic group, or you're in a particular context or situation, there are differences in the way that you'll pronounce words. There are differences in how you adjust your grammar, and there are differences in word choice. And there are many ways to accomplish social actions, such as making jokes, being polite, and greeting one another. For example, the way I opened my talk with the call and response of "yer," that might be considered some type of summons or a greeting in Black English. However, not everyone who speaks Black English will recognize that as a greeting or a summons, right? And that depends on their age, where they're from, their socioeconomic status, and so on. But for you, if you did respond, I know that for this talk that you are here with me because I let out a summons and you responded. If you're still confused, just know that for this talk, perhaps for this evening, we had a sacred ceremonial opening because of the year. And so there are many language variations in the United States, but the one I'll be talking about today is Black English. So Black English is a language variation of English. It's a result of the enslavement of African people in the US by European colonizers, and it is spoken historically and primarily by Black people in the United States. Black English is a full communicative system within you'll find variation among the country, and so you'll see differences in how people speak it. Black English is also commonly referred to as Ebonics. So for today, that's how I'll refer to it. So Ebonics is stigmatized, right? And so many people think that you speak bad English, broken English, and that you speak sloppy, and perhaps you're illiterate, less intelligent, etc. However, there exists a preponderance of evidence which suggests otherwise. For today, I had a difficult time thinking about how to present the evidence that legitimizes Black English, because when people do so, they tend to compare Ebonics with standardized English. And when we do this, we treat standardized English like the default way to communicate. And my goal is that for today, for the rest of your lives, we will not treat standard English as the default way to communicate. And so to present two features of Ebonics, I'd like to highlight a campaign called Habitual Bee by Strivers Row, which is a community of folk who celebrate those pursuing their passions. And so in this campaign that can be seen across New York City, Strivers Row uses two verb tenses to celebrate Black people and who we are and what we do and our contributions. And so the first tense is habitual be or respectual be. And so this describes things that are habitual, repeated, something that's usually the case. So in the example here, I'd be late to work. This means that it's usually the case that I'm late to work. Or in the example, I'd be talking a lot, right? It's a habit of mine. It's something I do repeatedly. I'm usually probably talking. The next verb tense that Strivers Row uses is called stressed been. Now, this is another grammatical feature, and it describes actions that happen in the remote past or that started in the remote past and continue today. So in the first example, she been saw that movie. That means that sometime in the remote past, she saw the movie. Now, you can also say, we've been going to that movie theater, which means that sometime in the remote past, we started going to that movie theater and we continue to do so today. So with statements like we be empowering, we be trailblazing, we be engaging, and we've been empowering, we've been engaging, and we've been trailblazing, Strivers Row uses these tenses to celebrate who Black people are, what we do, what we have been doing, and continue to do so. So the question becomes, why is this all important, right? This is great. So this is important because there are hundreds of thousands of people who speak Ebonics, and too many of us are not aware of its legitimacy. Now, this creates obstacles in the lives of speakers. And one place where these obstacles are created is in schools. There are two important court cases which highlight the attempts at schools eliminating obstacles for Black students. The first is the Ann Arbor case of 1979, where a lawsuit was filed on behalf of 15 African-American students. And the judge ultimately ruled that the teacher's unconscious but negative attitudes towards Ebonics created a psychological barrier to learning. The second court case was filed in the Oakland School District in 1996, and as a result of disproportionate failing rates. And one of the resolutions was that Ebonics would be recognized as a home language of students. And as of today, Ebonics still poses an issue in schools. And so educators think students have bad language habits and are making frequent mistakes, but this is not the case at all. And this results in hypercorrection. And so people often correct students and remind them to speak properly or correct them when they make a perceived mistake. And folks think that this is benefiting students, but it actually does more harm. And so for this reason, the correctionist approach has been highly criticized because it actually creates a hostile learning environment for students. Additionally, teachers' negative attitudes towards students results in teachers having low expectations of students. This results in teachers pathologizing these language differences and misdiagnosing students with learning disabilities. Also results in disproportionate failing rates among Black students, and teachers developing frustration towards Black students' acquisition of literacy skills. So as a result of this, students develop feelings of shame and discomfort in schools and a lack of self-confidence, all while their identity is not being affirmed or celebrated. Now, the first step to solving many problems is awareness, and far too many of us are not aware about the legitimacy of Ebonics and other English language variations. So it's important that we fill mainstream areas with this information, because the research tells us that students benefit when you adapt the school setting to suit their needs. And so this is larger than ensuring that students score well on testing, but this is also about creating a space for students to explore their language and cultural identity. When we don't acknowledge the home language of our students.
I want to highlight this last sentence here, this last quote, because it is so relevant to all the children, in our classroom. The English language learners and those who speak a non-standard dialect. So when the child's mother tongue is truly valued,
in the educational setting, it leads to low anxiety, high motivation, and high self-confidence.
This is also about creating a space for students to explore their language and cultural identity. When we don't acknowledge the home language of our students, we are doing them a disservice. And when we teach students to speak a standardized English without creating a critical awareness for students, we are teaching them to be complicit in their own oppression. As a child, I should have known that my ancestors created a language this sophisticated. So in reflecting on this photo, I'd like to end with a quote by Dr. Janine Smitherman, a linguist who I look up to. She's published great influential work and was actually an expert witness in the Ann Arbor case of 1979. And she says, we have kids in the inner cities who are verbal geniuses, but we call them deficient in school and attempt to eradicate their identity. Thank you.
Okay, come back to you. Any thoughts about her TED Talk?
I agree with the last part, saying that as teachers, we should even allow our students to speak their mother tongue. Personally, I mean, I was allowed to speak the Arabic language. I was motivated to, but because I haven't had like so much confidence in speaking it, and I was like always brought down in speaking it, I couldn't actually bring myself to speak it in the educational classroom.
So when you say you were allowed to speak it, you mean the teachers were open to that?
Yeah, so I was in a very non-diverse classroom when I was growing up. So I was surrounded by mostly white. So they were interested in hearing the Arabic language because they never heard it before. So teachers and the students were always like, you should speak it. Let us hear you speak it. And I was just like, I'm not sure about that.
So it was kind of like more like a novelty than something that could be useful to you at recess or, you know, when you made small talk with the students.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Evelyn, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I like how she mentioned the way to educate people is to make it pop up in like mainstream like media, because I think that's one of the ways people learn. If you don't know about it like outside the classroom, if you hear it in the news or you hear it like in wherever, you eventually learn about it.
You know what? That's such a good point. I mean, who out there is picking up linguistic journals? Not too many people, right? And although it feels like academia is huge, it's not. I know people who are very interested in language who don't know half of what you guys know. So I think that's right-headed, that we want to make sure that everyone is exposed, and maybe even very early on, to understand that there's different varieties of actually every language, and none is better or worse. We just use them in different places and with different groups of people. Thank you. Anybody else?
This isn't, well, I think this is related in a way. There was another TED Talk I reviewed in my community college, and it was about African American English and code switching, where like they can automatically be speaking their native tongue in African American English, and then in a professional setting, they'll just code switch immediately to standard English.
Yeah, actually, most everyone I know, including myself, can do that. And that's a good thing. Like, any code switching is good for your brain, and it's good socially to be able to switch on and off like that.
Yeah, I found it amazing that, like, just like with any other language or code switching in general. It's amazing that any person can do that right away.
Yeah, it's just absolutely fascinating. And we know now, all we have to do is watch daytime TV. You know, I rarely watch daytime TV, but once in a while during the pandemic, I would. And I noticed there's so many people speaking African American English who aren't African American. So I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but I feel
go ahead.
Modern society today, especially people that are not African American, they're trying to be African American, like with the clothes and the hairstyles and just all those like stereotypes that belong to African Americans. They're putting it on themselves.
Yeah, and I know people feel different ways about that. My son goes to Jones College Prep and is predominantly white. And what annoys him, so he code switches. He's like the master of code switching. What bothers him is when people kind of put on, like it's not natural. They feel like they have to do it to fit in. So there might be a couple of white kids and they're like really overdoing it with the African American English, you know, and no one says anything because we know their intent is not, maybe not malicious, but it feels strange. So we have to be cognizant of that. Let's see here. So I'm going to talk about hypercorrection after we do the AVE quiz, but let me just give you a definition. She used the word hypercorrection in her TED Talk, but she didn't use it the way most linguists use it. She was talking about overcorrecting. So last time we met, we talked about the different ways that teachers can correct language. There's like 6 different ways. And all of them are useful. But if you do correction too much, then you're overcorrecting and the student begins to feel less confident. That's not what hypercorrection is. So hypercorrection is the result of a child being corrected too much, right? So, and this is very common. So in some schools, say most of the kids speak a non-standard version of English, whether it's Spanglish, Appalachian English, Ave, they're being corrected left and right to the point where you lose your train of thought because you expect the correction to come and you internalize and think, well, the way I speak must not be good, and so I must not be good, because look at the look on the teacher's face when she's correcting me. It's almost like she's angry. So what happens in the long run is something called hypercorrection, where people over apply rules, right? They over apply the rules that they know. So the erroneous use of a word form or pronunciation based on a false analogy with a correct or prestigious form. So an example that we see lots of times is people tend to say you and I when they should say you and me. So at times you say you and I, and at times you say you and me. But people tend to say you and I all the time because it sounds fancier. And actually, I don't think I added to this slide and now I don't see it. But there are more examples of this. My husband does it with the word watermelon. I have no idea why he does this, but he says watermelon. Who says that? I have no idea, but that is.
Wait, how does he pronounce it again?
He says watermelon.
He emphasizes the beginning part, water, like watermelon.
He emphasizes the T.
Oh,
Well, we don't, I mean,
Water.
who does that? We say watermelon, right?
Yeah.
Don't you
Yeah.
say watermelon?
yeah, I say watermelon.
So, some old Saturday Night Live skits used to come on back in the 80s and 90s where, and you know, it's funny and not funny, but Eddie Murphy would come on and pretend he was someone who just got out of prison. He was in prison for a long time and he had a lot of time to read the dictionary. So he wanted to use all of these fancy words, but he used them too much and he used them inappropriately. By the way, before I start talking about the African American English quiz, do you know the rule for using you and I and you and me? Sometimes it's hard to explain rules that we just have internalized. Nobody? Okay, let me give you an example. The waiter brought the plate to you and I. Is that correct?
Listen to you and me.
It's okay. A lot of people aren't sure. The waiter brought the tray to you and I.
Isn't it you and me?
Yeah, you and me.
It's you and me. But why?
Well, to me, it sounds correct.
But as budding teachers, that's not enough. You can't say, Johnny, it's because it just sounds correct. And I'm laughing because it's something we've all said that, right? We've all said at some point or another, it just sounds right. Just go with that. Manny? Oh, I thought Manny was going to say something. Okay, I'll give you the answer. So, you and I, okay, let me use the sentence I just gave. The waiter brought the tray to you and I. So what I do to test it is I break up the you and I. I say, the waiter brought the tray to you. That sounds great. The waiter brought the tray to I. So that's how I know it's supposed to be you and me. Okay? Does it make sense? Everyone's so quiet. You want me to give you another example?
I like the way you like separated it by sentences and then seeing if it made sense. I was never really taught that. They just gave the reasons of why it would be wrong, but not giving like examples or tips on how to like work it.
Thank you. This is the best tip and the most reliable tip to use. And sometimes we're writing and we're not sure. Sometimes we're speaking. So yes, break it down. So like usually you and me goes in the object part of the sentence. You and I goes in the subject part of the sentence. But I think it's easier to break it down. So I'm going to give you one more sentence. You and I should go to that party. So I'm going to break it down. You should go to that party. I should go to that party. So I know it's right. You and I should go to that party. But the waiter brought the tray to you and I. The waiter brought the tray to you. Sounds good. But the waiter brought the tray to I. That's how we know to change it to me, you and me. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox and I'm gonna pull up the quiz. It's also in the folder for week 10, but it should be here too. Just give me a second. Oh, that's strange. Okay, why don't you go to D2L and go in the folder for week 10 and pull out the standard translation quiz, the AVE quiz. And I will look for it here so I can post it here. Oh my goodness. Okay, here it is. Okay, so Black English, they call it Black English, they call it AVE, which is African American Vernacular English. I think the most modern term is African American English. What people don't know, and I'm going to be teaching a whole class on this next fall, is that there are so many commonalities in patterns between languages from West Africa, from the Congo Niger family of languages, between Black English. There's like, it's a straight shot. So, and what people don't also know is that purposely, when they were being stolen from Africa to bring for slavery, no two people who spoke the same language were put together in the boat for 3 months. They mixed them up so that they couldn't communicate. As a result, new brands and new languages were created. So a lot has happened since Africa, but oh, there's a comment or a question. Manny says no. Manny must disagree with me. Not sure. Okay. Well, what I will say is that African American English is predictable, and that's because there's a grammar that's consistent. We don't call it a bunch of mistakes because it's not. It's a different variation of English. It's what many people use with their families and friends. It's important to know standard English so that you can code switch. So what I want you to do now is translate the, it's 11? Yeah. Translate these 11 sentences to standard English, and I even have a bonus question, a bonus sentence. So you can write your answers just on a scrap piece of paper that you have, or you could type them in if you have the paper, and then we're going to compare notes. So I will give you time to translate these sentences into standard English.
you go.
Okay, I'll give you another minute and a half. Oh, and the bonus question is right there. Okay, let's go over what you got. So who wants to try number one? Yolanda be knowing where the best restaurants are.
I'm gonna try here, but Yolanda knows.
Okay, and since I can't, for some reason I can't see you guys, I can't even see your names right now. So can you say who you are?
Yes, this is Amanda speaking.
Okay.
I'm gonna try here, but I said Yolanda knows where the best restaurants are.
Uh-huh.
That's what I have to.
Did everyone put that?
Yep. That's what I
Or
have.
some variation of that?
Yes, I wrote that.
Oh, uh-huh. Yolanda knows, or Yolanda usually knows. Okay. And I guarantee you, like, you're gonna do well on this quiz because this is a real grammar that's predictable and you guys live in Chicago. So number two, thank you, Amanda. Number two, who wants to try that one? She real smart.
I can try that one. This is Evelyn.
Okay.
I wrote she is smart, or you could say she is really smart.
Yep, very good.
Yeah.
She is really smart, is what I would say. Okay, very good. Thank you, Evelyn. Number three, my mom's steady looking at my diary. Who wants to try that one?
I can try it. It's Derica.
Okay, Derica.
My mom is always looking at my diary.
Yeah, yeah. Now, steady is something that's regional. It exists very much in the Midwest and in the South, but you don't hear it very much on the East Coast. But yep, thank you, Derica. Who wants to try number 4? We had went to the store yesterday, but they was closed.
I guess I'll try. This is Amanda again.
Okay.
We had went to the store yesterday, but they were closed.
Yeah, that's what I want. Not right.
Okay, so the last part of it, you turn to standard English. Good.
All right.
You're close. You want to give it one more try?
Yes. We went to the store yesterday, but they were closed.
Yeah. Good. Good. Very good, Amanda. All you needed was the simple past tense.
You went.
And I'll explain what all of these qualities are called as we move ahead.
Is it because yesterday is already in the sentence, which is like past tense? So if you had, it would have been more another past tense.
Yes, yesterday already happened. It doesn't affect today really. So yeah, it's definitely the simple past tense for that reason. Thank you. Now someone new for number 5. You don't never be knowing the answers to those science questions.
I'll go. This is Kay.
Okay.
He never knows the answers to the science questions.
Yeah, very good, Kay. See, I told you guys would do really well on this. Number 6, Marissa don't be on the bus, but she on the bus today.
Can you hear me, Professor?
Yes, Manny.
Sorry, I was having issues with my device. Marissa isn't on the bus today, but Marissa isn't on the bus, but wasn't on the bus, but she is on today.
Half of it right. The second half is right.
Hold on.
Okay, try it again.
Maria isn't on the bus, but she is today. She's on the bus today.
The second half is right. Who wants to help him out?
Someone help me.
I can help them.
Okay, who's that?
Derica.
Okay.
So the beginning is Marissa is never on the bus, but she's on the bus today.
Yep, exactly. It could be Marissa is never on the bus, but she's on the bus today. It could be Marissa isn't usually on the bus, but she's on the bus today. You see that, Manny? Because it's the habitual beat.
Thank you for that.
Yes. Which tells you that it's habitual. Okay, thank you. Number 7, Kelly liked it, that boy, just because he light-skinned it. Who wants to try this? Any brave soul?
Is it that Kelly liked that boy just because he was light skinned?
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah, no, you said it exactly right. There's an added ED, but what's interesting, it only happens with 3 or 4 words. And we'll talk about that. Thank you. Who was that?
Uzma.
Who? Oh, Uzma. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8, if I'm not mistaken, that's Ronnie book. Who wants to try that one? I haven't heard from Mandy or Hannah. And if not them, then anybody else.
I don't know this one.
If I'm not mistaken, that's Ronnie's book.
Good. You added the possessive S to Ronnie. Good. Now this next one, people usually get this wrong, and I can understand. I think you have to hear it said. So I'll say it. Here go my mascara. Who wants that one?
Where's my mascara?
Here is my mascara.
Yeah.
I found it.
Yes. So you heard my inflection and my stress.
Because usually when people read that, they think the mascara is running.
That's what I
Like,
thought. Yeah,
that's what you thought. Did you think it after I read it or before?
before.
Yes, isn't that fascinating? Okay, number 10.
For number 9, I thought she was just like looking for her mascara, or she was like offering it to someone.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, so you mean looking for it and then found it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Here go my mascara. Or what was the second one? What was the
She was
second
offering-
scenario?
She was offering it to someone. Like, here goes my mascara.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. That could be, but I like the first one better. Okay, number 10. Who's going to handle number 10?
It's a water.
It's
Is
a
it-
water fountain. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Is
Who's
it
this? Who's this? Evelyn?
Evelyn?
Uh-huh.
Is it there is a water fountain downstairs to your right?
Yes. And this one is very common in Chicago. We'll talk about that. Okay, now all we have left, thank you, Evelyn, is number 11 and the bonus. They're both really hard, so I don't know if anyone will get them.
You didn't say.
Number 11, you ain't said nothing but a thing.
I could go.
Okay, who's that? Kay?
Okay, yeah. You said something that I agree with.
Kay, you come from the South, right?
Yeah.
That's how she knows it. It is so interesting who gets these right. The last person to get number 11 right and number 12 right was a Puerto Rican guy who grew up in a Black neighborhood.
Mm.
But this number 11 is very Southern, and almost everyone gets this wrong. They think it's the opposite of what it is. So it really is a compliment.
Oh.
No one knew that but you, Kay. Okay, so this last one, I don't even know if Kay can get it. And actually, I'm not going to read it because I want you to read it to yourself and see if you could decipher it.
I'm a go by mama.
I mean, I do know, but I wouldn't know.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay, can you, go ahead.
Does anybody else want to go?
Anyone else want to go before Kay tries it? Okay, go ahead, Kay.
I think I might go visit my family and extended community, friends, etc. after I clean the kitchen.
Oh, almost. This is like a trick question. So you got the first.
I think I'm gonna go for this one. I think I might.
This
is Amanda. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Amanda.
I think I might go visit my mom after I take care of this kitchen, or after I clean this kitchen.
Nope. You got the first part.
This is hard.
This is Evelyn. I don't know if this is right, but after I clean the kitchen, I will see my mom.
Nope.
No. Oh.
Good try, everybody.
What does the take care of mean? That, like,
so, okay, I'll give you a hint. Does anyone want to guess before I give a hint?
I don't know.
I want to try.
Okay. Oh, no, go ahead. Who's this?
Uzma.
Uzma, go ahead.
Okay, so I think I might visit after I clean the kitchen.
Nope.
No?
The kitchen.
Okay, I'll give you guys a hint. Kitchen doesn't mean what you think it means.
Oh. Okay, can I say it? It's Derica.
Go ahead, Derica.
Are you referring to like your hair, like the like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead and say the sentence.
I think I might go to Mama and them after I take care of this kitchen. So yeah, like the back part of your hair.
Okay,
but I want you to translate it into standard English.
Okay. I think I might go by my mama and family's after I take care of this kitchen.
No, standard. No, that's not. You told me
think
what that
I'll go-
last.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Okay.
I think I might go by my mama and family's after I do my hair.
Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
After-
So
after I take a shower?
Because that's how I would normally speak, if that makes sense. So that's something I would say. So
okay. So right, she's right. It refers to your hair, but not only your hair, a certain part of your head. What?
Yeah, like the back, like the bottom part.
The back.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kitchen is the back of your head, the hair on the back of your head. Did you guys know that?
No.
No.
Is that like a regionalism? Or is that like you said, some West and not?
It is definitely not regional, although I think it starts in the South. But the only people I know who use it are Black people and some Puerto Ricans or Dominicans, like the ones who have coarse hair, like mine. For most people, the hair in the back of the head is the most coarse. Like you could have curly hair here and it might be coarse in the back, harder to comb. So you'll say, oh, I gotta take care of this kitchen. Oh, my kitchen. Never knew that. Kay, you didn't even know that, right?
No, I've not heard that one.
Now you know. Okay, you guys did a great job. I am going to quickly show you some background of Ave before we end. Second. This one. This one. Okay. Let's see if I can pull them up. Okay, so first of all, there are 55 features of African American English. 55, that's a lot. And they're in many different categories. So 19 of those features are phonological, having to do with sounds. 13 are pre-verbial markers. 6 are other aspects of verb tense, a lot of verb issues. 7 have to do with nouns and pronouns. And 4 of them have to do with negation. And here are some examples. And I put this sheet and the others in your folder so you can refer to them. Two of the characteristics have to do with questions. 3 of the characteristics have to do with existential and locative construction. And we have one of those in the quiz. It is some, instead of there is some. And then 1 is the complementizer of quantitative say. It's very unique. And you don't hear it very much. Some of these go away when the older generations pass. And this one you don't hear very much. Sometimes you'll hear it a little bit on the west side. Aunt Denise told me, say, come back home, instead of Aunt Denise told me to come back home. Okay, so 55 features. And one more sheet here has to do with the most common in Chicago. So here are the 10 most common Ave features in Chicago. Absence of the copula or auxiliary is and are. He tall, he is tall. The use of steady, we had that one, as an intensified marker. Usually after invariant habitual be. Isn't that interesting? So placement is important. spelling is important too. Sorry about that. So, Ricky, be steady talking. Ricky is always talking. Number 4, use of had. We had this in the example. Use of had to mark the simple past tense. I don't use this one. This one is very common. This is the one I can't kind of embrace. Then we had went outside. So it's an extra word there, even though it's the simple present. We went outside. This was yesterday or last week. We had went outside. We went outside. Is there a comment here? Oh, Mandy, you were answering something different. Okay, I'm sorry. Number 5, absence of the third person singular present tense. S at the end. He walked all the time instead of he walks all the time. Keep in mind, these are consistent with West African language. Number 6, reduplication of a past tense or past participle suffix. Only happens in liked, looked, or skinned. So specific. She liked it, that boy. She liked that boy. Number 7, the possessive F. That's John's house. That's John's house. Use of existential it. It's a school up there. There's a school up there. Number 9, use of say to introduce a quotation or a verb complement. I mentioned this earlier. They told me say they couldn't go. They told me they couldn't go. The last one, number 10, here go my notebook. Here is my notebook. So those are for you to keep. And I hope this was fun. I had fun. And you guys did a great job. Derica for the bonus win. K for the surprising win that no one else could get. Okay, any questions, concerns, comments? You got my email. I'll send a reminder that the schedule is changing a little bit. I have to get surgery on my shoulder beginning of December 9th. So I have some doctor's appointments and I'm gonna be out of town also for a college visit. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I will let you know when we have the in-class group assignment. That's the only other thing we have now, except for the annotated bibliography and the literature review. Okay, because I think, did you already turn in the brief self-reflection?
That's due on the 31st.
Okay, so I'll look forward to seeing that on the 31st. Have a great day.
You too. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You too. Be safe.
Bye, Professor.
Bye-bye.
Bye.